It's Sunday night with the DC Comics fanboys. You're here. We're so excited that you're here. This is Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Thanks for spending your Sunday night with us. I'm Ryan, aka Magic Lasso, hosting this week's Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. With, as we take attendance, Tim, the comic collector. Hi, Tim. How are you?
What's up? How you doing?
Doing awesome. Great to see you. And also, we have Dave, Comic Food 2814, joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. Okay. Do we have Tony Fett present? I don't.
No.
Is that an excused absence or an unexcused absence?
I think
It's never excused.
I think he's filming the Harley Quinn animated series of season 3.
That's true.
Okay. So he's
Okay,
making
it
the
is
coin.
excused. Yeah.
Okay, he's making the coin. Flashpoint Comics is an excused absence. Oh, look what we have trying to claim here.
Weak.
Yep. Also, hello to some chatters who are joining us, including Ruben Guzman, White Tiger Cool, Calm, Collected. Our great friend, Poor Mike, is with us. Good to have you here, Mike. And he is chilling by the fire pit, and then the fire went out.
Mike was never a Boy Scout.
No. We're at a balmy 9 degrees here in Themyscira for this Sunday evening show right now.
Well, I'm sure you noticed me. There's no vents in the old comic closet here, so it's cold in here.
Yep. Hello to Unruly Simeon. He and Loki are joining us, so great to have you here. We appreciate it.
Yes, speaking of Poor Mike's last comment, there is a vote going on. Which suit do you think Tony wears?
Yeah.
It's been one of our more fun polls.
Yeah.
Tony's been very appreciative of it.
Yeah, he has. How's everyone's week? How's everyone doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Yeah, it's going pretty good.
So I think we have some weeks. Oh, I want to say hi to Kyle, who's joining us, Wheelchair Superhero 87. So hi, Kyle. It's great to have you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show tonight. So it's always kind of like feast or famine when it comes to DC Comics news. And tonight is feast.
Yes.
Where to even begin?
Well, I mean, book news, movie news, and even action figure news. So do you want to just start with the comics?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, Tim, I think you were the one that first brought this to our attention. We've got a new absence over at DC Comics, a big one now. It looks like the general manager or vice president and general manager, Daniel Cherry III, I think he took over for Dan DiDio.
It was they created the position for him after they let go of Dan DiDio.
Yes, thank you. I think he's only been with the company 20 months, and he's already leaving.
He came
COVID
in
lasted
after
longer than he did.
The first bloodbath, and he literally is nothing but a career in video games before coming to DC Comics.
Yeah.
And
I remember you mentioning
I'd like to see the numbers. Not that he's solely responsible, although he does play a big part in it. How low all the print runs have went, like how much has been cut off on each print run since he's been there.
There have been so many YouTube videos that have come out this past week from the likes of like Ethan Van Sciver and others that have been talking about just how, I mean, honestly, pathetic the print runs have been. And I mean, to be fair, they don't have exact numbers, right? Because they don't publish the exact numbers, but they can kind of decipher,
Yeah.
So.
I think that ties into another bit of news I'm sure you're going to bring up comic book wise, but I don't know for sure, but I would be willing to bet anything. The reason they're killing off the Justice League, if you haven't heard, is because they can't pay royalties. They can't afford. I mean, they're not making money on print and paying royalties on top of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big motivator in killing off the Justice League under the guise.
Well, and for those that don't know, April of this year, I think they're killing off 8 out of 9 members. Is it? Or
Yeah.
is
I
it-
thought I had heard 7 or 9, at least 7, maybe 9 are dying.
Yeah, it's like all but one. I think Hal Jordan's the only one that makes it.
Yeah, because he isn't technically in the league right now.
Right.
He's off on his own trying to save the GL Corps.
Yeah.
But
they are going to kill
Yeah.
the Justice League with issue number 75. Supposedly kind of like to pay homage to Superman 75, but I mean we can see what's going on.
and it's
here,
the
right?
30-year anniversary of that.
Yeah.
So
But
So-
Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Aquaman, The Flash, I think Jon Stewart.
but if
Is-
Batman's dead, how is he the Dark Detective in Future State? Which is supposed to be
Yeah.
set in stone timeline.
Wonder Woman is in Future State too. She's she's the
Right.
immortal Wonder Woman. So
Right.
I'm pretty sure they're all there, ain't they? Who's the Green Lantern they're killing? Because John's
I
in
think it's
space,
John. No, I think it's Jon Stewart.
but John's ringless in the hidden sector or whatever with the rest of the Corps.
There is a coffin with the Green Lantern symbol, like there's a coffin for the others, but they very clearly have Guy, Kyle, and Hal, and I think Jessica and Simon are all there.
Not only
Yeah.
that, Justice League Last Ride, which is canon, hasn't happened yet. Which is
Yeah.
supposedly right before Future State. So
this
tons of continuity errors here.
this starts to make sense for a while because I mean it's been a while that they've been trying to replace Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman with different characters using those monikers.
Mhm.
And everyone's like, why are you doing this? People want the iconic one. Well, if the answer is because they don't want to pay royalties to the creators' families, that seems like the answer that makes sense. I don't agree with it. I think that type of decision is horrible.
I wonder how much. See, I don't know the legality of it. Let's say you just quit using Clark Kent, right? You use somebody else's name.
Mhm.
What if the family, the owners, get Clark Kent back? Wouldn't they get Superman? You know what I'm saying?
I have no idea.
Sort
how
of like
that
what's
works.
going on with Spider-Man and all that in Marvel. Well, they have Miles, but are you still going to be able to call him Spider-Man if that family gets the rights to Spider-Man and Peter Parker back?
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
mean, because
part
there
of it
are
don't make
rumors
sense to
that
me.
in 2023, at least there's going to be a legal battle on the Marvel front for those characters with Ditko's family. Again, unrelated to DC, but I was just reading today in 2023, IDW is also going to lose their biggest Hasbro books, the Transformers and G.I. Joe. So, I mean,
Could you
comics are in
imagine a
rough shape.
world in 2025 where like a lot of these things aren't getting published, or they're just people you've never heard of under the monikers? Like it'd be like off-brand DC, Marvel, IDW.
I know. Kind of stinks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hello to BA Ward 95. Thanks for joining us.
The dollar store Justice League.
Exactly. Like
Yeah. Well, the Justice League's getting killed. Obviously, I mean, everybody is assuming they'll come back eventually, but they are being replaced with alternate characters. But that's not all. I think also in April, we're going to see the final issue of The Joker with number 14. That book is getting canceled
Already.
the writer's leaving.
Yep. Well, the writer's leaving, but they're not
Wow.
replacing the writer. So it has, according to Bleeding Cool, it is canceled.
Hi, I collect a lot. Thanks for joining us.
I thought I saw something else was canceled then too.
Yes. So DC is also in April canceling several of their omnibus for the Phantom Stranger, Who's Who, and the Green Lantern Alliance original graphic novel, which is the follow-up to the what's his name? The Ty Pham Green Lantern. That has also been canceled. It was supposed to come out in April, and I think there's talk of like it might come out in like October or November, but I mean, at that point they've canceled orders and they're going to have to go and resolicit. So who knows?
You know it's bad. it's really bad when they cancel a trade, because for decades now that's the bread and butter.
Yeah.
Because you could put it out, the stores could keep reordering it. And a lot of YouTubers have said this. Go to a Barnes & Noble and look at the comic section now compared to the manga section. The comic section at every Barnes & Noble here in St. Louis is 2 bookshelves for all comics, DC and Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that used to be almost 2 complete aisles. Like that's insane, how far down those sales have went.
I don't know. I didn't know about Joker. And when you're canceling a book with a character that has such decades of mass appeal, wow.
I mean, for DC, Joker, Harley, and Batman have been the big hitters. I mean, Green Lantern had a little time and stuff like that, but consistently, all 3 of those characters have been top sellers for them at one point.
Mm-hmm. Copy now, 1 is joining us. Great to have you here, Copy.
Hey, Copy. Now, this is interesting. We're talking about all these big books getting canceled, right? And guess what is coming to new comics now, which just blows my mind. We are going to get a crossover coming into comics from the CW's Arrowverse. So they're going to get
some of those before.
Well, I know. I just find it kind of odd that they're going to cancel their big titles, and then they're like the CW, which we've talked about before, hasn't even been profitable. They're going to bring those books in, and I'm sorry, I've seen the artwork. It looks like a bad cartoon. I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, well, what is it? Half price trades or in stock trades, something like that. You get brand new trades for like $8. Yeah.
Wow.
Hi, Brandon, Looney Tunes fan 2000. Appreciate you stopping by again this week.
If you're wondering, Unruly, that's where I used to buy my trades. That and I'd wait till Barnes and Noble buy two get one sales. So.
Yeah. So I mean, not that that's not enough, but that's all the comic specific related news.
Well, I have some comic news.
Yeah.
What comic book can you buy for $3,180,000?
Amazing.
What
Fantasy?
comic book?
Yeah. I'll put you out of your misery. It just sold this month. Action Comics #1 in a 6.0 sold on Heritage Auction for $3,180,000. There are 10, according to the CGC census, there are 10 books, two in equal grade, also 6.0s, and then 8 that are in higher grade than that. Oh, Coach Vic is here. Hi, Coach Vic. Thanks for stopping by.
So did that beat that Spider-Man sale?
I believe so.
Okay.
But a 6.0 on Action Comics #1. This is it's
bad.
dubbed. It actually has a funny name. It's dubbed the Rocket Stamp because the original owner who bought this, a 13-year-old kid who bought this off the newsstand, took a stamp of a rocket and put it on the cover. And if you can see the little rocket stamp there. So
that is funny.
But somebody got a pretty nice gift there for $3 million plus. I can't even imagine the sales tax on that.
So shouldn't that do something to grading? If a book with a stamp on the front's the highest selling book ever, shouldn't affect your other books then, right?
You would think. From what I've heard, Mile High Comics has a raw copy of Action 1 that for the people who have seen it and have confirmed in its existence, they say if it did get graded, it would get graded in the 9s.
Wow.
So imagine.
What would you guys do if you had it? Would you get it graded?
I would, because I want to make sure that there's no restoration, because we're talking such high dollar at this point. I want to make sure that I got what I paid for.
Don't you have to pay a certain percentage of what it's worth? I don't have the money to pay for a percentage of Action 1 getting graded.
Well, true. I think if you can afford an Action Comics #1, you could probably afford to cover that. So I always thought it'd be interesting if I bought like a big book like Action Comics #1 or Detective 27 or All-Star 8 or something like that, one of these first appearances of an iconic character, something that's in the top 5 most valuable comic books of all time. If I bought a graded copy of this and then I went to comic shows, set up my own booth, and said, you can hold my slab and get your picture taken with it for $5 a picture, how long would it take before I could pay off that entire slab?
There you go. This sounds like a business
never do it.
opportunity, Lasso.
You'd be murdered in the parking lot at the first show.
Mental note: St. Louis will not be a tour stop on my tour.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should team up and go into a book together.
We should.
We'll have the Fanboys booth. Come look at our book.
Exactly.
Help us pay for it.
Yes, help us pay for it. We're broke. If you see us in line buying pizza, buy us pizza, A-OK us food.
Right.
So, okay, moving on to the next topic for current news. What you got?
So this one's kind of interesting. We've talked a lot, I think, in the past about the Justice League movie and all the nonsense that went on there. But it sounds like this week, fans on both sides of the issue, whether you like the Justice League or you like the Snyderverse, whichever, it sounds like everyone's unhappy now. And everybody, for all kinds of different reasons, are now trying to boycott the WB. They're just...
Would the WB even notice?
But yeah, I just think it's comical that they can't make anybody happy now. So it's that's been something that's been trending on Twitter, I guess. But yeah.
One good thing about DC being terrible at movies.
There you go.
Easy to find these books I want in the dollar bins.
Right.
Yep. Of course, you probably saw that Joss Whedon this week tried to defend himself in some of the wars he's had with different actors. Is that something you want to talk about?
No, I think that all ties into what's going on this week with the boycott.
So in one point, he said regarding Gal Gadot that English is not her first language, which is a massive insult right there.
Wow.
And Gal Gadot,
I think she speaks pretty good English.
time clarifying, saying, I understood completely what he was telling me.
Wow. Well, and of course, the guy that plays Cyborg? Is it Ray Fisher?
Yeah, Ray Fisher.
Yeah, he's still out there bashing Jeff Johns, and I'm not going to say exactly what he said, but it was not very kind, and I suspect not very warranted. But yeah.
And poor Jeff Johns. I finally found out what that was even about this week watching Ethan Van Sciver.
Yeah.
That he was kindly taking him to lunch to be like, hey, if you go down this road, because it all started because they wanted him to say booyah, and he wouldn't do it. And Jeff Johns is like, well, hey, if you don't do this, it's going to affect you not as a threat, but as a warning. Like, you can't do this in the movie industry. And so Jeff Johns is racist. Like, he threatened him. And I'm like, really? That's what all of this is about? Because
it's because
paid to act, say booyah.
Zack Snyder, I guess, promised him certain things, and so he wanted the movie to center around Cyborg. Now, I'm sorry, but like, Cyborg is a fine character, but you can't have a Justice League movie centered around Cyborg.
Well, I mean, we never even got a Cyborg spinoff, even though we were told we were going to get one. We never actually get,
we haven't got any of the spinoffs we were told.
Well, maybe if these actors and the director, I mean, the whole lot of them sounds like they're all guilty, but maybe if they could learn to behave better, there would have been. But ultimately, I think it's us as fans that pay the price, which is, the shame of it all.
It's like you're making a superhero movie. You're not curing cancer. Like, calm down. Take it down a notch.
Yep.
Now, there is a new movie trending on HBO this week, on HBO Max, a DC movie. It is the Injustice animated movie, which I know previously came out. Tim's already yawning.
No, sorry.
But
I've actually been wanting to watch that and just haven't got around to it.
Well, when I read that, I actually went out and got it today, and I did watch it. I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I tell you what, though, if they ever made a live action movie of that, Ray Fisher would not like it because Cyborg does not make it very well with Amazo in that movie.
Something people don't talk about enough. The animated movie side of DC has been consistent. I won't say every single movie's a home run, but more are than not.
Yeah.
Like it's really solid what they're doing over there.
I enjoyed it.
The Justice Society World War II animated movie is now on HBO Max. Nice. So I finally had the chance to see that, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I can't say I've disliked any of the movies. There's even some original stories, like one centering around Jessica Cruz in the Justice League. I forget the name of it right off the top of my head, but yeah, it's good stuff.
I haven't seen that.
The Superman Doomsday, they've done 2 of them. Both of them are really good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the fights look epic.
Coach Vic is saying the movie's violent. If you're talking about Injustice, I would agree. It's, I don't want to spoil too much, but I mean, it's in the description of the movie. It's basically a story, like almost like an Elseworlds type story of what would happen if Superman had a major loss. Yeah, it's based on the video games. Yeah,
the video games have their own comics, and it's its own thing.
Yeah, and Superman is basically kind of experiences a major loss, and then.
Thank you, BTC Moon Guy, and thanks for being here. Hello, also to Mr. Gretzky 9966, my friend.
Awesome, dude.
Yep. So you want to talk about the Batman?
Sure.
How long does the movie have to be?
I don't know, but one of you guys posted what I hope was a joke in the chat.
I posted a post. I forwarded a post from Instagram that claims that WB and their employees are unhappy with the Batman, starring Robert Pattinson's 3-hour plus runtime. So they have hired Joss Whedon to trim it down to about 90 minutes. Which I
almost want that to be true just because it'd be so funny.
Could you imagine Twitter? People be logging into Twitter like, why isn't anyone talking about Trump or Biden?
Right.
Why is it all Joss Whedon and Batman?
So I heard with credits, and I guess there is a bonus scene, at least one bonus scene somewhere in the credits, that it's clocking in right now at 2 hours, 56 minutes, I think.
That's too long.
That's way too long.
Even for a movie that's amazing, that's just too long.
Why do they do that? Continue to do this? Because it's the same criticism of these movies over and over, that it's too long. You know,
well, you always hear about DC, they're behind schedule and over budget. Well, if you made a movie length, maybe you wouldn't be over on all those.
You know, I find it interesting coming from a media background that they constantly tell you with media, the public has no attention span. The public has no attention span. You got to hurry. You got to get your point across. They have no attention span. And at the same time that they tell all of us, the length of motion pictures does nothing but drag on longer and longer. So if the public doesn't have an attention span, how come the movies are so long? One of these scenarios doesn't make sense. Now,
look at the comics we get, like Snyder's Justice League 40-something issues, Death Metal, like what, 6 issues and a dozen tie-ins. Like, why are these comic stories? Nobody's sticking around for a year and a half to buy every issue. Like, nobody.
Yeah. So I don't know. I watched a Marvel movie for the first time, and it was The Eternals. It's a 2.5-hour movie. I also watched within a week the Aretha Franklin biop Respect that was done by Jennifer Lawrence. That clocked in almost the exact same runtime. You put out a good movie like Respect, and it just captivated me. I didn't even realize 2.5 hours had flown by. Eternals, I was literally, when is this going to end?
I watched all the Avenger movies in a row again and still didn't finish Endgame.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to finish this. No, can't do it.
But Tim, didn't you tell us once that it took you an hour and a half to watch 60 minutes?
Yeah. Since I have kids, it takes me about 3 evenings to watch a movie. So.
Oh, if I said Jennifer Lawrence, I'm so sorry. I meant Jennifer Hudson. She's amazing. Jennifer Lawrence is cool too, but Jennifer Hudson is amazing.
I don't know who either of them are.
There's a huge
To be honest with you. No
so,
Wasn't Jennifer Hudson? She's the one from American Idol or something like that.
Yeah, Jennifer Hudson. Yeah, American Idol. Jennifer Lawrence was Mystique in the X-Men movies.
Yeah, like the Hunger Games, right?
Yeah.
Still don't know what you're talking about.
There's a huge difference between Jennifer Lawrence and Vicki Lawrence. Now I'm
No,
ready.
I think Jennifer Lawrence, then she was the girl in that terrible Netflix movie with DiCaprio that just came out that I couldn't finish. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, like Up in the Air or something.
Be right. Yeah, I didn't watch that one.
James is here. I still don't know what he's hiding in that cabinet.
Didn't make it too far.
How you doing, James?
What's up?
All right. What other news is there?
The writers of, or the writer of Jonah Hex is looking to, or wants HBO to create a TV show based on the character, specifically based on their run in the comics. So I don't know that it's going to go anywhere, but that's at least what they're out there saying that they would like to see happen.
Did you ever see the Jonah Hex movie?
Much like Tim in his normal movie watching habits, I couldn't get through it. So I never finished the end.
I haven't finished a live action superhero movie in so long out of all the new ones. I just can't.
Well, the Jonah Hex one is that's like a decade out now, right?
Yeah. That's
I don't even think I knew it existed.
It wasn't that great, to be honest.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it's better than Catwoman, but that's a pretty low bar.
Yep.
Are we wrapped on news?
I've got one more, and I think this one is going to excite all of us. So,
all right, I'm ready.
The next Build-A-Figure coming out of McFarlane Toys is going to be Starro. And Starro, yeah.
But
so I thought that was pretty cool.
Movie Starro, right? I think that's what I saw.
Perhaps. I'm not sure. Oh, that's right, because he was in the movie now, right? Yeah.
You know what would be awesome?
I always forget about that.
If the figures that the Build-A-Figure pieces come with are actually figures I want, that would be awesome.
I think they are like it's one of the characters we're going to be talking about tonight. Ultraman is one of them. And I think it's like some really weird version of Batman from a multiverse. Like he's in orange and red. I'm not as familiar with it.
Yeah.
Is
Tony
it like
reminding us
a patchwork looking suit?
Kind of, yeah.
It might be like the Zener something or another from Grant Morrison's run.
I think that might be it, yeah. So.
Oh yeah, talking about what James just said. I found Blight out of that wave. Haven't seen Batman or Batwoman Beyond. I did see the final one, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy this one when I couldn't find the other two you need for the Build-A-Figure. So I see the unique Batman variant all the time. For those in the know.
I would love to get in and start collecting those figures again, like a whole run of them, because I had a lot of fun with the DC Universe Classics Mattel run. But to be honest, like there's a lot of complaints about the McFarlane toys, right? Because they break all the time. I was just reading an article about that. I know you've talked about that, Tim.
Well,
they break. They don't stand
I don't think it'd be as big a deal unless you're planning to take the non-Green Lantern ones out of box. But for like an in-box collector, it wouldn't matter.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, if you take them out of box, they come broke. They'll come with wonky legs. I think we'll get into this more because quick shout out this Friday, me, Dave, and Retro Tigo are doing a figure show where we'll talk about the problems with McFarlane and some of the older lines and stuff we like.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't invited. It figures.
Oh.
So Tony reminding us there's Jeff Johns news. Jeff Johns is coming to do a DC book again, right?
Yeah.
I think there's news we might be coming the rumor is he's coming back in a bigger capacity at DC, but we don't know yet for sure. So
time will tell.
So
Are we caught up on our news?
Which book are we doing, Lasso? 5 or 6?
We're doing the
There's
first
only
story,
5.
I'm sorry, 4 or
Squadron.
5. I'm so used to everything being 6. Are we doing the first book or the second book? So I can
First
find
one.
my place. Okay.
The All-Star Squadron story.
All right. Good. I found my place then.
See, poor Mike knows that I'm punny. Do you want me to start it off, Tim, or do you want to start it off? And Dave, do you have an assist for me?
I do.
Okay.
I don't mind. It's your story, you pick. I don't mind going first or second.
I'll take it first then. Once we get the assist built up here.
Look at these covers. Like, why don't they do covers like this anymore?
Yeah, that cover is fantastic.
That's better than any variant they're putting out.
Yeah, that's
I
really
agree.
good.
I love these framed of orders.
Yeah, and they did them on all 5 issues too, and all the characters have different expressions too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do. So that's pretty cool. But I'll get us started, and we have 2 issues to review to wrap up this storyline. This is Crisis on Earth Prime, Book 4, Master of Worlds and Time. It's All-Star Squadron, issue number 15. This comes from 1982. So as we start out our story, we're beginning on Earth 2 in January of 1942. We have Perdegaton's control room there, and he's finding out that the Justice Society has come after him. And he knows that they're from the future. He doesn't care. He's got that huge video monitor that you see, and he's looking at this battleship in the North Atlantic via a hidden camera. On the main deck of the ship are essentially all of our characters, all 3 teams, all 15 superheroes. We have the Justice Society, the All-Star Squadron, and the Justice League of America. And Perdegaton is essentially eavesdropping on them, unbeknownst to them. So what's going on in the ship is essentially, once again, now that we have all of our characters together in one spot, we have introductions going on, and they're recapping not only to each other, but for the reader, what has happened in the previous issues. So Perdegaton is overly confident on his victory. So he had these nukes that had radioactively contaminated the area. Dr. Fate and Zatanna magically cleaned this area up. Robot Man and Commander Steel are curious about how the time travel business is working out. So Firestorm, Dr. Fate, and Green Lantern, who are all from the 1980s, recap what has gone on, the adventures and the travels that brought them to this time and place. Once they got the story straight, the entire group of heroes heads to the White House, and it's time to report in to President Roosevelt. So Degaton is eavesdropping this entire time. He knows everything that's going on. He's eavesdropping in the White House. And Degaton now transmits a new warning to FDR. And he's also sending it to Churchill, Hitler, Stalin, and Tojo. He's giving them a 5-hour deadline and an ultimatum for all of them. And he wants complete control of the world. He's going to be the dictator of the world or else. So Roosevelt, who days earlier had defined Anton Haster's takeover demands, decides that the risk to mass civilian fatalities is way too high. And he gives the Justice League 5 hours to get this fixed. But if they don't, he's determined that he's going to resign. So in typical fashion, what happens, the JLA, the JSA, and the All-Star Squadron break off into teams to take care of things. Team number 1 is Dr. Fate, Robot Man, and Superman, and they fly into Earth's orbit, and they're going after Degaton's space satellite, and they start ripping it apart when they encounter a kryptonite booby trap. And the one thing that I don't get right there, you see Robot Man, unbeknownst, is opening this up, even though he's like, no, why didn't Robot Man just close the thing instantly? I didn't get that.
It was ridiculous, I know.
Like,
So,
what's this? Holds it out towards Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark?
So that kind of takes Superman, out there for a minute while they're attacked by Ultraman. So Dr. Fate magically counteracts. Ultraman kind of shrugs it off and punches
Tell me
Fate
the new
out.
Build-A-Figure has that shoulder. Has those shoulder pads.
No, unfortunately, no. It's the newer look.
Yeah, so Ultraman, he starts fighting with Robot Man, partially dismantling him and kind of flings him towards Earth. And Dr. Fate rallies and reattacks, and so does Superman, because Superman, when Robot Man was flung in, Robot Man was able to get Superman back on track, and back there fighting Ultraman. So Ultraman is soon punched out into outer space, and Robot Man is quickly rescued and reassembled, and that nuclear warhead essentially has been taken care of. So that's one threat that's down.
Now, can I just add one thing here that I've been noticing on some of these books? I think it was on the Justice League book last week that we did. Was it
Yep.
208? And also this All-Star 15. They have these Masters of the Universe. It's like a 16-page preview.
Yeah,
So I think it was like all the books for that month.
it
But
was.
any Masters of the Universe fans, if you're looking for that collection, it's the same story on each one, but these are out there. They're very early Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, Tim, I'll let you pick it up with the second group of heroes here.
So now we jump over to the Pacific. It says a few hundred miles south of Japan, and it's a pretty cool team. You have the original Starman. For those watching the Stargirl TV show, this is the original Starman. Aquaman and Liberty Bell. So Aquaman jumps off and heads into the water, while Liberty Bell and Starman investigate using Starman's rod to detect radioactivity. They come across some unconscious soldiers and follow a trail into a cave where they encounter Degaton's men with the warheads. So they immediately start to engage when a lasso whips out and knocks Starman unconscious, and we have another member of the crime syndicate, which sort of doesn't make sense. I know they briefly explain it, why they're still helping Degaton, but they are. So basically, Liberty Bell rushes Superwoman and gets punched down. She tries to go for the cosmic rod, and Superwoman grabs it. Starman warns her against using it in proximity to the nukes, when all of a sudden there's like an earthquake knocking everybody off their feet, and we just see water rushing in, and Liberty Bell and Starman, unfamiliar with Aquaman, are like, I didn't know he had this kind of power. And he
Don't
doesn't.
laugh now. Don't
Yeah,
laugh at
he
this next one. Hold on. Let me get the bit. Here it is.
He's gotten some blue whales to assist him, which I guess getting the nukes wet renders them inoperable, but they consider that job well done and move on.
Bravo, Aquaman.
Yeah. I mean, they destroyed the area and I guess sunk them, but
They had to find something for him to do.
we go to our next group, which is Hawkman, the Huntress, and Johnny Quick. And you see them briefly talking about the differences in their Hawkmen. And Hawkman has I guess a Geiger counter. That's one way to do it. And they get to where it's supposed to be, and it's just like, a dirt lot. And they're kind of looking around when all of a sudden they're attacked by Power Ring. He immediately takes down with ease Johnny Quick and Hawkman. And it says he was not, he basically didn't take the Huntress seriously because all she has is primitive weapons, and she's too feminine and weak to give him a tussle. But she basically hits him with the batarang, knocking him out. And as he's passing out, he shoots his ring into a silo, basically showing where the nukes are hidden and launching one.
How does that launch it?
So you couldn't shoot the star rod because that would ignite the nukes, but Power Ring could just full on shoot one. So basically, Hawkman flies Johnny Quick up to it, and its super speed flashlight dismantles it in the air. And then they come down and dismantle the rest of the warheads. And we get a quick glance at Degaton, who seems shocked by all this, even though he was monitoring all of them. At least up until they destroyed the satellite, but he should have known their plan, right?
You would think so.
And even his buddies there on the right. You think he's crazy, Kale? No, just enthusiastic. So that bald henchman's name is Kale. It's a cool bit of
Yeah.
trivia.
It also got established in that story too that there is an Earth 2 Aquaman, because I don't think he had ever been seen prior to that. And he shows up in All-Star Squadron a couple issues later, I think.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
And that ends me and Lasso's issue part 4.
We did a good job.
Definitely.
All right. So I'm going to take issue number 5 here. And then, yes, to Tony's point, we're going to let Tim then take care of issue number 6 after that.
Exactly. Issue 6. I'm used to the 6 issues.
Let's see. So we are moving on to Justice League number 209, Crisis on Earth Prime, book 5. And again, we get another one of these great covers.
Hi, Super Russ.
I'll give Lasso a chance.
I blocked.
Oh,
Yeah, I blocked. Oh, I'm sorry. I was busy blocking people.
yeah, no, I was on another tab and we're good.
And look at how cool that cover is right there, because it's the 4 previous covers behind him.
Yeah.
I cannot get enough
look
of
at that.
these covers like this. Every Justice League cover should look like this. Every single one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Can you imagine like a Justice League Dark like that? Swamp Thing and Man Bat, and that'd be so cool.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we'll get right into this. So the league is trying to track down all these missiles for Roosevelt, and they've got many of them. And what we're gonna do, I think, in the beginning of this one, it's just again a quick little recap for Roosevelt of what's gone down. They're telling their success. We get the Huntress taking out Power Ring again. Power Ring, for those that don't follow along, I mean, he's just a joke of a character, really. I mean, I think he's intended to be that.
I make fun of Hal and you make fun of Kyle, but at least they've never been took down by a batarang.
Right. Shouldn't he have like the Green Lantern aura around him, like the bubble to protect him at least? I don't know.
I know it's similar to Green Lantern's ring, but I don't think it's the same.
Okay. So this is kind of neat. Again, they're doing this little recap, but and to really spell it out for the readers, they actually have this chalkboard where they're showing the different teams, who they're up against, how many missiles are still remaining, and all of this. And so we just went through the first 3 teams, and now we're going to get to this team 4 and 5. So team 4 is Commander Steel, Power Girl, and Firestorm over in Switzerland, and where they think the remaining 3 missiles are. So there's only 3 missiles. They've already taken care of 24 of them. And then the 5th team is going to be Green Lantern, Firebrand, and Zatanna, and nobody knows anything about where they're at.
I think that 4th team with Firestorm is a super cool team up.
Yeah.
Steel,
definitely.
Firestorm, and Power Girl. That's pretty cool.
Yep. So Hawkman, again, they kind of mentioned it in the last issue. Like you mentioned he had the Geiger counter, but that was because Hawkworld's technology is at least 10 years ahead of Earth technology in any different Earth or time period. So Hawkman goes ahead and is able to repair Robot Man's arm, which is kind of cool. They're let's see. So we're off to Switzerland now for this team 4 with Steel, Power Girl, and Firestorm.
Yeah, that's a good team up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they mentioned like they're in the land of the land of chocolate. And let's see, what do we get here? Sorry, I read this morning. I'm already forgetting.
They get taken by surprise. They're trying to find where the threat is, and they essentially get ambushed.
Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. And so Power Girl is kind of busting through this wall. Firestorm. Oh, this is where the henchmen show up again, and Firestorm is kind of taking them out as well. What he does is he's able to melt the bullets in that they're shooting at him, like while they're still in air. And that's where the henchmen, they were very arrogant at first. And as soon as they saw their bullets starting to melt, they're like, oh, whoops. So meanwhile, Power Girl is still looking, busting in through the building and stuff and looking for the hideout. And she runs into the evil version of the Flash. What's his name? Johnny Quick. Yeah, from Earth 3. And Johnny Quick is actually quite successful here, as you can see. He's able to take down Power Girl.
I have a quick tidbit right here on this panel. You see this old woman upset that Power Girl crashed and destroyed all of her collectibles. She shows up in a later Power Girl volume as a villain name known as the Antiquator.
Really?
No, but it sounds legit, don't it? I just thought that was so weird. Like, they just show this woman upset and never mention her again. Like,
that would have been fun.
Destroyed.
The Antiquator.
The Antiquator.
I'd be upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, Commander Steel is able to very quickly take down the remaining henchmen. And then Firestorm's able to go in, and this part confuses me because maybe I just don't know enough about Firestorm. I thought I did, but he seems to create like a kind of like a light construct, this clamp that comes around Johnny Quick and is actually able to basically cause him to pass out. Is that one of his powers?
He could kind of do that. He takes material that's around and transforms it, just like he would, like, you know, changing oxygen to something like hydrogen, right?
Yeah, so he can change the more structure. Yeah.
Like, they don't show it, but you got to assume he took like a computer console or a desk, you know what I'm saying, and transformed it into that thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
To transform stuff out of thin air.
Right. Well, but so yeah, so this radioactive clamp comes down on Johnny Quick, causes him to pass out, and it's kind of funny too because Firestorm's basically like, you know, I could loosen the clamp so I don't strangle him, but really, why bother? It's like, wow, okay,
that's a pretty good takedown for Firestorm.
Yeah. But they are not fast enough to stop the missiles. The missiles do launch; they're underground. And they take off. And so now there is basically one missile for each of our three heroes. And each one of them has to work very quickly. In fact, Commander Steele's like, you know, they mentioned how this is like a really precise operation that we're going to have to do, but I just don't have time. I got like 10 minutes. So he just starts ripping it apart. And they all do the same. I mean, look at Power Girl here, just destroying that missile. And of course, Firestorm, I don't know why Firestorm didn't take them all out, because he's just kind of like waves his hand. And he's like, you're done.
Yeah.
But so now the heroes have taken out the final of these ICBMs. They get back. You can see Roosevelt here is very happy to hear the news. And effectively, the threat has been ended. But that's where, remember, there was a fifth team. And so that's where the story takes a bit of a different turn. And we learn where Firebrand, Green Lantern, and Zatanna have actually been this whole time. Turns out they actually have been going to they went back in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, they went to another time, basically earlier in time, to see if they can't stop these events, Degadon from starting his plan to begin with, is what we find. And so they go back in time here with Professor Z's time machine, and you can see they arrive back on Cuba right after, I guess, Ultraman and stuff. Yeah, it was just prior. Yeah, I guess the confusing part is they're saying first you attack us at the Bay of Pigs, and now this. It was a little confusing, the timeline, you know.
Yeah, that was.
Right? Because then what we see is they actually, we're going to see here in a second. This is where
the Pentagon.
Yeah.
But essentially,
that's where we see the crime syndicate show up, right? They're starting to appear.
It's flashing back and forth between just before the crime syndicate steal the missiles and the present where they're going to confront Degaton, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're back there, and they're basically at the point in time where the crime syndicate are showing up to take the missiles. But then we flash back forward again to the rest of the team who, yes, they are going to what in 1942, I guess, would have been just swampland just outside of Washington, D.C. on the Potomac, that would one day become the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And that is where Superman leading the team, they go underground and they actually find that is the headquarters for Degaton, and where he's been kind of orchestrating all of this. And this is kind of funny because Degaton's like, oh, there's no problem. I planned this all along. You're falling into my traps, and I brought all these weapons from the future. And you're expecting these really cool weapons, and then it's a tank. Like, how is that going to help you against Superman? As we see, Superman quickly takes apart the tank. Yeah. Firestorm turns their weapons into rubber bullets. And very quickly here, you see that the Degaton and his henchmen are just, I mean, it's not even close. The Justice League is able to take them down extremely quickly here. And very quickly, even Degaton's like, oh, whoops. We've got Owlman, who's kind of off on his own. He's like, oh, look what happened to them. That's fine. I work better alone anyway. But the Huntress is there ready to take him down. And she, just like Power Ring, she takes him down very swiftly without any issue.
That fight is really cool because her dad is Batman from Earth 2. Yep. So she's seeing a different version of her father the first time they meet and fight. It's a really cool moment.
I can't get over like this outfit of Owlman. Like, what were they think? It's just so goofy.
Yeah, the redesign when Morrison wrote them in Earth 3, that's sort of pretty much going now, is way better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're gonna flash back to the past with Green Lantern leading the team. And again, the crime syndicate has just shown up to take the missiles. Only this time now they are ready for them. Green Lantern's got this kind of hammer that hits them out of nowhere. And Alan Scott's actually very effective in this fight. In fact, he takes down almost single-handedly the crime syndicate. At least they're some of their most powerful people.
If Ultraman has similar weaknesses to our Superman in being magic, he wouldn't stand a chance against Alan Scott.
That's a good point, because his ring is based on magic, not science, like the Green Lantern Corps. That's true. And then you've got Zatanna is able to take down the rest of them, Johnny Quick and Owlman. And yeah, I don't think, what's her name? Firebrand. I don't think she really did much at all here. No, they don't even show her. And then we get this kind of cool scene with Power Ring versus Alan Scott. And again, not very close. Alan Scott's proving to be extremely skillful in this fight. And so
Power Ring did better against Alan Scott than he did Sinestro.
Yeah. Well, he did better than he did against the Huntress too, I guess.
Yeah, true. So does that mean Huntress is more powerful than Alan Scott?
Maybe, at least against Power Ring. So here we see Degaton taken down again. So in 2 moments in time, which is kind of neat. And
a lot of strangling going on in this story.
Yes. And what we see is as they do this, it starts to reset time. And so all of these characters, I mean, because they're all displaced on multiple Earths out of time due to all of these events. But now that they effectively have gone back, and this was a little confusing for me, because it's like, if they could have done this at any time, why didn't they just do that in the start? Why'd they bother going after the 27 missiles if all they had to do was send Alan Scott back, you know?
Well, you got to have a backup, right?
I suppose, yeah.
You know,
so it all kind of comes together. But as they shift back to their moments, back to their previous or original moments in time, they're also quickly losing their memories, so they don't even recall what has happened. And it puts them back. It puts the All-Star Squadron back in their time, back in the in 1942, I believe it is. Yeah. we've got Perdegaton is back as a lab assistant and back just saying, oh, I had a dream that I was the ruler of the world last night. And Professor Z's like, yeah, get back to work. The crime syndicate are back in their bubble, stuck in limbo, and still no hope of escaping. And this is really kind of cool because if you recall from last week where this story all started, it started with the Justice League and the Justice Society porting between Earths to meet up again and basically have a little reunion. But of course, the Justice Society was pulled out of time by Perdegaton, and but this, now that it's all been corrected, they get to have their little meetup after all. So, and again, none of them really remember what had happened.
And there's all these extra heroes there now, like Batman and
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and so they get this cool little Green Arrow, Red Tornado. Look at that. So we get this cool little meetup of the characters, and but if you recall, in that first issue, I think Tim, you were the one that first mentioned this. That Firestorm.
The big news here.
Yes, Firestorm had done this kind of like creepy little mention that he was interested in Power Girl, right? And so we finally get the follow-up to that. And he basically says, I've been trying to get you alone all evening. And she's like, look, I'm just not in the mood, okay? And then the next panel, she's like, okay, I changed my mind. Cuddle me.
Yeah.
And it ends with her saying, so you were saying something about wanting to get me alone? So apparently Firestorm and Power Girl are a secret couple.
Dave, before you X out of that, can you go back about 3 pages, I think, right when the heroes are starting to disappear because stop right there. Look at that panel with Huntress talking to Superman, and she starts to say, Superman, what about, and then that's cut off. So last summer, there was an article done, and to my knowledge, it's the only time that it's been addressed, where a reader wrote in and said to a comic book website and said, can you help me? What exactly was she talking about? Because I can't find anything that's ever played upon in the future. Well, they started researching this, and they couldn't find anything either, as well as what was going on. So they went to Jerry Conway, who wrote the story, and they asked him, what is the purpose of this? And you know what he said?
What's that?
I don't remember any of it. So apparently at the time he had something in mind that he was going to, like a little thread to pull on later on.
Okay. And
never did. Probably because of Crisis happened, not too long after. Never did. And no one ever knows what she was going to say.
That's funny. I'll tell you what my take on it was.
Okay.
I didn't get into this in the description, but there was these moments where because again, the All-Star Squadron, I guess, are from 1942 pre-war. Yep. And so there was these little moments throughout as they're talking about the devastation of a nuclear blast. And the All-Star Squadron's like, man, and even FDR is like, wow, I hope I never have to make a decision to use something like a weapon like that. And the All-Star Squadron's like, yeah, that would be crazy, right? And the Justice League and the Justice Society are both like, oh, don't say anything, guys, right? Yeah. Keep it hush hush. So it was my thinking that this was because they had just kind of stopped nuclear wars. What happened?
Yeah.
And I was thinking maybe what Huntress was trying to tell Superman was, wait a minute, like what about those other 2 bombs that are about to get dropped? But I could be wrong.
My first thought just reading it was because in continuity right then her dad has died, the original Batman.
Yep.
I thought she was going to ask something along the lines of a question about our Batman, or maybe possibly meeting up with that Batman. That's just my thought, because they'd even alluded, to her father throughout the story. So,
well, it's true. To Dave's point, I think in our issue, Tim, with Liberty Bell's like, who are you talking about? And all of a sudden they're like, Dr. Doolittle. who was
Yes!
not who they were talking about at all.
They were talking about the Doolittle raids.
They were talking about at all.
They were talking about the Doolittle raids.
Yes. And they're like, oh, we're talking about Dr. Doolittle. So yeah, that could be. But I guess that's the question, since the writer himself has no recollection of what he was doing with this. We're never going to know. So it's up to your own interpretation.
Firestorm got game.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird? Like, this is a 5-issue story, and like 2 issues weren't just exploring one of the characters' depression. Just so weird.
So what did you guys think about this story arc, both parts, all 5 parts, both weeks?
I'd give it 4.5 out of 5, just because it's not quite there. The more realistic language you get a couple years later, like post-crisis at DC, and that throws me off sometimes. But other than that, it's about near perfect. I mean, they tied everything together, beginning to end, seeing all these cool teams and the amazing covers. I mean, about as good as you can get.
Dave,
I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. And the only reason I'm putting it, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing all the characters. I was kind of introduced to some newer characters. I mean, I knew they existed, but I can't say I've read many stories with them, like Commander Steel and stuff. But the thing that was throwing it off for me was in certain places, I felt it was a little sloppy, the jumping around. I mean, you're dealing with multiple parallel Earths that you're trying to keep track of, 3 different teams that you're trying to keep track of. Well, 4 if you include the crime syndicate. And then also the time travel element. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I had to go back and reread certain pages a few times to say, well, okay, where am I in time here right now? So, yeah.
It's like watching Doctor Who.
I'm doing 4 out of 5 as well, just for the sheer fact of a little bit of the jumping around. I don't know if we needed 2 villains. I also don't know if we needed any of the Earth Prime stuff at all.
Yeah. I mean,
But overall, I haven't read this since it was a new issue, and it was a fun reread. I thought the artwork was good.
The art was good.
Story, there's a lot of history in it. So there's a lot of, but in a way that's kind of cool too, to get so many historical Easter eggs. We had a story with FDR, Reagan, Kennedy, all in the same issue. You know,
it is weird. It's called Crisis on Earth Prime, and almost none of it really takes place there. Like one issue, basically, they're there.
Well, it's because the consequences of all of this we saw in the beginning, that Earth Prime was basically devastated by nuclear war.
Yeah,
like I think that was So. In terms of the artwork, certainly since that point in time. In fact, I was just having a conversation with Squatchy on this the other day, of just, the progression of art over the ages. And you can see that, like, they actually had to build up the skill set, and they may have had the raw talent, but building the skill took, decades, right? To learn from each other. So some of the character art maybe is not as nice as what we see today. However, if you pay attention to the background art, it was extremely detailed in ways that we generally do not see today, and I think has kind of been lost. And that was something I really did notice and appreciated, was the level of detail on the background of each of those panels. So
yeah, a good story.
Yeah, it was a fun story.
Yeah.
So we're going to start going around and learning about everyone's channel and do a little show and tell with a book show. Tim, are you ready if I go to you first?
Sure. I got a couple
we
things.
Are going to head to Tim.
A couple things you'll see. I guess I'll shout the channel out real quick. Tim, I'm the comic collector. I've been doing a weekly show called Journey into Legends, where I look at Legends of the Dark Knight one story at a time, as well as I just put a haul video up today, which I'll show for my book show. And I've been doing some fun little action figure shorts at the beginning of my last couple videos. But I know Dave will be jealous of this first thing. I just got this today. And it is the Green Lantern 46.
Look at that.
Bit of a pricey book. I was shocked, but a really cool variant.
And I appreciate you AOKing that to me. I do.
And then this thing, I guess you've seen all show, and I did show it at the end of my video, but I managed to come across the Swamp Thing McFarlane toys. And this thing is big. I mean, here's a normal figure.
Oh, wow, that is big.
Yeah. So that's all for me. Another quick shout out. We'll be doing that figure show on one of our channels this Friday. And next week's Fanboys should be on Dave's channel. So,
and I think it's also worth noting for those that aren't aware, John Constantine's first appearance is in Swamp Thing. Just letting you know,
Tony knew about that.
Get your copy now. Okay, Dave, what's going on the Comic Food 2814 channel?
Well, as Tim said, this Friday we're gonna be doing our first kind of talk about action figures, which will be kind of cool. I think I've got a few to share, but I do have a new for our book show tonight. It's not a book, but I just got this in the mail. I had ordered this back in fall of 2021. It just showed up. This is new from Entertainment Earth. I got it, but this is the Day of the Dead Jessica Cruz.
Oh, wow.
Very, very cool. They actually have a whole series of them here. I don't know if that comes in clear, but these are all Day of the Dead.
I walked into Walmart and saw a Batman one, so I looked at the back. They had every single one of those Day of the Dead ones but Green Lantern sitting on the shelf of Walmart. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, there is a Jessica Cruz, and I think it's one of the nicer ones. So, and then how bad is it when you open so many mystery boxes that I just went to my P.O. box and I got these two, and I had forgotten I had even ordered these. So apparently I've got some new mystery boxes that I will be opening on my channel this week. So I'm looking forward to them.
It's cool. I want to throw this question out here since it was asked before I do mine and wrap up. What do you guys think about these big events being turned into TV shows and movies?
I think for DC, they have trouble making one good episode of a live show, much less an event. You know what I mean? So I don't think they should worry too much about events. If you could do them right, I'd love to see them like what Marvel's doing.
You know what how I would describe it? I think DC has, it's almost like they're afraid to just be themselves. You know, it's like they're constantly trying to compare themselves to Marvel, or they go so dark on stuff, and it's like it's almost like depressing. Yeah, it's like they're almost afraid to just go all out and just be DC, and I think that's what fans want to see. Like, I would love to see just a huge all out, colorful, campy, even Justice League or any one of the
animated side does it right. And they do big events and stuff too.
Right. Be true to yourself and stop trying to overthink it, you know?
So if you want a campy Justice League, the Tubi app, which I've talked about before, it's now showing all of the Batman shows. They've got the 2 episodes of the superhero roast to view for free on their app right now. This is live action DC comic show, The Huntress. Burt Ward and Adam West back as Batman and Robin. Solomon Grundy, live action. Shazam, live action. Green Lantern, Hawkman. These 2 episodes, which after you take commercials out are about 46, 47 minutes or so, are now streaming for free on the Tubi app. Please watch them this week.
Okay.
I got a bone to pick. Dave says he loves funny and campy, being yourself, but you hated the Harley Quinn TV show. It's about as campy and funny as you could get right there. It's like if Family Guy was a DC cartoon.
I will say this. So again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I did watch the new animated Injustice movie today, and Harley was, I think, my favorite character in that whole show. She was hysterical. I loved it. I know Tony doesn't want to hear that, but she was quite good.
Well, I brought something to share as well before we wrap up. So I brought 2 things, actually. Is she not cute?
Nice.
Oh, cool.
What is that?
That's an itty bitty. That's Hallmark has exclusives on itty bitty. And
Oh,
can you tell by looking at her costume what version of Wonder Woman this is?
I think that's the
70
TV
show?
Linda Carter.
It is. It's the Linda Carter TV show. To be very specific, it's season 2/season 3.
Do they make Green Lantern ones?
Yes, there are some Green Lanterns.
Oh, all right. Not Hallmark, huh?
Yeah. So I also wanted to bring a book, and I didn't have this one pulled at first, and then as we were doing the story, I'm like, well, this is the perfect book to pull. This was just A-okayed to me recently from J Hood Creative. You might remember he did that awesome custom sketch for me too of Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. And
yeah, that was great.
I'm so excited to read this. This series only lasted 5 issues. He A-okayed me a couple of them, and then I got the rest that I was missing, so I can sit down and read this all at once.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
So it's Steel the Indestructible Man. This is issue number 1. And like I said, it lasted about 5 issues. So I'm hoping next week to sit down and in one sitting, just enjoy everything from start to finish. I think he's a cool character.
Is that well, that's a 35 centimeter. It looks wider than a normal book, but maybe it's just the camera angle.
Yeah,
that's a current size, right?
Yeah, it's current size.
Okay.
So, but this was back during, he was a victim of the DC implosion, where a massive amount of titles got canceled after only, a handful of issues.
Wait,
and
the first DC implosion, you mean?
The first DC implosion. So, and I have to agree with Bake the Snake here. Jay Hood's a good guy, damn fine artist.
Bargain Bin's last comment, well, he just commented again, the big one before, the Dennyverse is the best thing that there ever was. Batman the Animated Series, Justice League, Superman, Green Lantern, all Static Shock, Batman Beyond, all that's fantastic.
Yeah,
it is an absolute crime that there is not a season 2 of the Green Lantern animated show. That was such a good show.
But those guys know what they're doing. Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, those two are the Dennyverse guys. Even the comics they take part in, like the animated series comics and stuff. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
So
on my channel tomorrow there'll be a new YouTube #shorts. It will be the back issue of the week. What's the back issue of the week going to be? I'll tell you one thing. I decided upon it during this show tonight, and it's not the Steel book I just showed, but so I'll be dropping that.
All-Star Squadron, Infinity Inc.
You have to spend 60 seconds of your time tomorrow to find
Young
out.
All-Stars.
So also on Tuesday afternoon, I will be dropping another comic book editions video. I've already made some progress on my 2022 top 12 goal list. So I want to share that progress in Tuesday afternoon's video. This past week, I had a new episode of Cover By, the series I do with Comics for Thomas and Cookie from Just a Little Podcast. That dropped on Friday. And then this past week as well, I had another foreign edition AOK from Brazil. So, and it's still not the end, because I'm going to have another one next month. I'm going to have a Brazilian comic books by the time this is done. So, and if for some reason you are not subscribed to my channel or any of our panel, even the missing members of Fanboys Live and the Retro Review, the links are in the description for this video. Please sub them up. We'll get to this question.
No idea. I don't follow the dark side of comics.
Yeah. I've tried watching some of the Marvel stuff. It didn't interest me in quite the same way. I mean, I love the old X-Men, from the 90s. That was a great show. But like some of their newer stuff,
I never watched Spider-Verse because I don't know enough about Spider-Man to watch one with a verse of them. That's too much for me to try and follow and get into.
He does whatever a spider can.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm amped to see the new Spider-Man movie where it's just like one character, or the Spider-Man that are coming back. I know who they are because I watched the movies. So at least I assume they're back. I really don't know. I haven't seen it. So
well, we'll let you stew on that.
That's the rumor. That's the rumor.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this week's Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Do we know what we're reviewing next week yet or not?
We should talk about it. Because you wanted to do that Valentine's episode. Maybe we could do something like DC versus Marvel or something leading up to it, or
we'll figure something
and then
out,
start the voted. ones after Valentine's?
Yeah, because we did put the poll up, and I believe, unfortunately, Lassos and my picks did not do very well, which I'm so disappointed on because I thought you had a great one, Lasso.
Yeah, I did. I picked a Hawkman.
They're all good.
Yeah,
I think right now Flash is winning, right? The Return of Barry Allen.
Return of Barry Allen.
So, for those watching, if you haven't voted, go to Foo's community tab page to vote. We're going to do all the stories there, but your vote determines the order. And like I said, we might start next week. We have to talk, or maybe we'll do a couple weeks of filler and a Valentine's episode and then start that list.
So start it after Valentine's.
Yeah. But whatever we do, it will be on Comic Foo's channel next Sunday. So make sure you're subbed, hit the bells to everyone on the all the fanboys.
That's right. Thank you again for spending your Sunday nights with the best DC comic show on YouTube. We'll see you next Sunday. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.